Greetings everyone. In today's presentation, we'll be exploring the different stages of research writing. I myself go by the name Pumsile Abuzeng. Alongside me is Jennifer Kandabera, Kamukalam Patane, Wedu Matiwe, Yadora Jonas, Nicole Maforaga, and what
Topic and introduction.
research problems,
Research objectives,
Hypothesis.
research design and literature review,
discussions.
recommendations and conclusions.
First step in research writing is the topic. The topic is the main idea or issue that the researcher intends to center their research around. To come up with a good research topic, the researcher has to, number one, pick an issue that is interesting to them. That is to say, the researcher should pick something that aligns with their interests and expertise so that it's easier for them to find information. Number two, the researcher should make sure that the topic is creative and different. A creative and different topic entices the readers to want to read further into the document. Number three, the researcher should ensure that the topic is not too broad. A broad topic leads to a clutter of information, and a clutter of information causes the readers to lose focus. Now let's discuss the importances of a topic in research writing. Number one, it serves as the foundation and guide for the entire study. For example, if the topic is the impact of social media on mental health of adolescents, I, as the reader, I have an idea or a picture in my mind as to what is going to be included in the document. Number two, it facilitates communication between the reader and the writer. This is to say, it provides a main focus and common ground for both the reader and the writer. The second part of research writing is the introduction. The introduction is what gives the overview of what is included in the document. A good introduction should always have, number one, background information. Background information is what gives the history, justification, and context of the study. Number two, it should have a good hook. A good hook is a sentence that captures the reader's attention. Number three, it should have the thesis statement. A thesis statement is usually one or two sentences that give the main idea or focus of the entire study. Let's discuss the importances of an introduction to research writing. Number one, it engages the reader. Since the introduction is one of the first few things that you see as you open a document, it captures the reader's attention to want to read further into the document. Number two, it explains the significance of the research. To explain the significance of the research is to answer why was the research done in the first place. Number three, it explains the aims of the study or the research. This is to answer what problem does your research intend to solve and how does it intend to solve that problem.
One of the stages of research writing is developing a research problem. The slide outlines the concept of a research problem and identifies the types of a research problem according to CEALC Authority's understanding. The types of a research problem are, firstly, factual circumstance constraints. These are problems that arise due to limitation of information. Secondly, we have relational problems. These are problems that deal with the exploration of how certain vectors are connected. While developing a research problem, there are major considerations to make. For example, the assessment of practicality. This explains the research gaps and discusses why the research problem deserves attention. Stating. This shows the approach your study will take. Consultation. This manages expectations and clarifies boundaries.
Up next is the research objectives. Research objective is simply what the researcher wants to accomplish from the research study that is being carried out. Moving on to characteristics of a good research objective, it should be clear and concise. That is to say, it should be simple, straightforward, as well as understandable. It should be applicable, that is to say, it should be practical. It should also be realistic, that is to say, it should be achievable. Moving on to the importance of research objectives. It helps one to focus on the research problem. Also, it helps one to collect relevant data. Next is the types of research objectives. Firstly, we have descriptive objective, aims to portray the characteristics and functions of a particular phenomenon. Secondly is the explanatory objective, aims to clarify the reasons behind a phenomenon. Thirdly is the comparative objective, aims to distinguish between two or more groups, methods, or conditions, highlighting the similarities and differences. Then lastly, we have predictive objectives. Predictive objectives aims to foresee the future outcomes based on current data.
Hypothesis.
A hypothesis is a possible guess. There are 6 types of hypothesis, namely the null, alternative, simple, complex, causal, and associative hypothesis. The null goes hand in hand with the alternative hypothesis, whereby the null is a statement that shows no relation between the independent variable and the dependent variable, whereas the alternative hypothesis shows that there is a relationship between the 2 variables. Moving on to simple and complex hypothesis, whereby simple is a prediction that shows a relationship between one independent variable and one dependent variable, whereas the complex hypothesis is a prediction that shows a relationship between 2 or more independent and dependent variables. Lastly, we have the causal hypothesis and the associative hypothesis, whereby the causal hypothesis is a prediction that one variable is the root cause of a product of another variable, whereas associative hypothesis suggests a hypothesis contributes to the whole research as it provides a focused direction. It narrows down a broad research problem into a single specific statement that can be tested. Secondly, it determines the research design, whereby we look at the analysis and the data to determine the independent variable and the dependent variable, which will indicate what type of data is to be collected to test the prediction. And lastly, it contributes to theory, whereby if supported, it can strengthen already existing theories and lead to the new developments of new questions.
Up next is a literature review. A literature review is one of the stages in research writing. It refers to a study or investigation of academic sources on a specific topic. For one to have a good literature review, it has to synthesize, to evaluate, to analyze, and to justify for it to give a clear picture on the subject. Purposes of a literature review. Firstly, it has to compare the old state of the research study with the new state of the research study. Secondly, it has to give one a clear picture on the research problem. Lastly, it has to justify and give one validation on the research problem. Another stage in research writing is research design. Research design is a plan that is prepared to discuss a research study. There are 2 methods of research design, the qualitative and quantitative method. Qualitative is a theoretical way of collecting data, whereas quantitative is a statistical way of collecting data. Examples of qualitative data collection are surveys, interviews, questionnaires, etc., etc. Purposes of a research study is to avoid making errors, to ensure accuracy addressing to the problem, and to give one a clear picture on the research problem.
Discussions of research writing. This is where we delve more into the significance, the meaning, and the weight of our results. To write a good discussion section, we first start by summarizing and interpreting our findings. Our findings are the key focus of our research, so we compare the data that we have collected in relation to the research study. We then move on to connecting the findings with literature review. This is where we compare our new findings with the existing literature review. Thirdly, we state the implications of our work. This is whereby we describe the broader meaning and significance of our research. Moving on, we state the limitations of our work. This is whereby we state what has affected our new findings. Lastly, suggestions for future research. This is whereby the next steps are taken for further investigation in the field. The last stage in research writing is recommendations and conclusions. Recommendations is explained as evidence-based suggestions retrieved from the study findings to address a research problem and to fill in knowledge gaps. Moving on, we have key features of recommendations. An effective recommendation must be factually profound, realistic, and feasible, meaning that it must be expressed clearly and directly, using bullet points for better clarity, evidently linked to the study, and have theoretical implications. We also have types of. Lastly, we have conclusions in research writing. A conclusion in research writing is the last section of the study whereby the researcher demonstrates important components obtained from the study. Moving on to types of conclusions. Paper Part 2023 classifies types of conclusions as editorial, summarizing, and externalizing. Editorial meaning that it is reflectful and insightful, encouraging readers to think critically in the study. Summarizing, compiling the whole study into a final, concise, and clear statement. Lastly, we have externalizing, which is linking the whole research paper to larger ideas and having a theoretical practice. To sum up, research writing goes through several stages from choosing a topic to reporting findings. Every step is necessary to produce research that is clear, organized, and reliable.